All right, a couple multiple choice questions. So since your test is going to be multiple choice, your exam, I made sure to put some multiple choice on your review, and these are really good multiple choice questions. They're pretty rich. Something that I do for these, you can do a couple of things here. One, you could graph all of them and look for these details. I think it's a little easier to look at the equations and just kind of narrow down your options before you do that, and that's what I would suggest, because you know a lot about this even without your calculator. So which of these functions has a single zero, one vertical asymptote, and a horizontal asymptote? Okay. Whoa. My smartboard jumped. Sorry about that. All right. So let's see what we can kind of look at and get rid of here. Our option A, if we look at our problem, our x minus 4's cancel, which means this really, it's going to have a hole at x equals 4 and a 1 on top. If there are no variables on top, we have no x-intercepts. And remember, 0 is just another name for x-intercept. So just in that one cancellation, we can get rid of A as an option. For B, if we try to set the top of our function equal to 0 and solve to find that x-intercept, let's see what happens. So I get x squared equals negative 5, which means when I take that square root, I'm going to get an imaginary number. And imaginary numbers are wonderful, and you use them in Algebra 2, and we will work with them a lot later in the year as well. But that does not, we aren't talking imaginary roots here. That's not a real 0. So since this has an imaginary 0, this is not a solution either. For part C, I see an x-intercept. This is going to be similar. This guy right here is going to be similar to your x squared plus 5, but I have a real x-intercept at x equals negative 2. So I can't exclude that. Part D, if I look at it, for part D, I don't have anything that cancels. I actually have two zeros here. I have a x equal, I would have a 0 at 5, 0 and at negative 8, 0. So I can get rid of that as an option. So just based on the single 0 part of this, and without touching my graphing calculator, I can decide that this is C. But I'm still going to make sure that everything else works. And when I'm looking at the denominator, x squared minus 7 gives me imaginary stuff, but x minus 4 gives me a vertical asymptote. So right now I have an x-intercept at negative 2. So my single 0 part of this is negative 2, 0. My vertical asymptote part of this is x equals 4. And my horizontal asymptote, since I have the same degree on top and bottom, if I multiplied this out, it would be x cubed over x cubed. And I have 1's out front. Then my horizontal asymptote would be y equal 1. And it is a single horizontal asymptote. So for number 5, again, I could get this down to one option just from looking at the zeros. But it's good to verify the other information as well. Or at least maybe mark it to come back and look at later. Okay, which function has a vertical asymptote at x equals negative 2 and a horizontal asymptote at 1/2? So the first thing I'm going to look at here is that horizontal asymptote of 1/2. To have a horizontal asymptote other than y equals 0, that means I need to have the same degree on top and bottom. So I can get rid of C. C is bottom heavy. And I can get rid of A because A is top heavy. C's asymptote would be y equals 0. And A is top heavy, cubed over squared. And my top heavy would give me an oblique asymptote, not a horizontal. So now I'm down to 2. So I'm just using my test taking skills here, getting rid of options that don't make sense. Now let's keep looking at that horizontal asymptote of y equals 1/2. B has same degree on top and bottom. If I multiplied out the bottom, I'd have x squared as my leading coefficient, or as my leading term. So my leading coefficient is 1. So if you capture here your leading coefficients, you have y equals 2 over 1 as your horizontal asymptote. So I don't like that. If I'm looking at D, there's my 1/2. Again, I'm going to confirm the other pieces, but if I'm running out of time on my exam, I'm going on the flight. It says it has a vertical asymptote at x equals -2. So I would come from my denominator. I'm going to go ahead and factor. So 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. Instead of factoring, you could always look at your calculator. You really could put all of these in your calculator and look for these asymptotes, but I think it's going to be faster for you to use the properties that you have memorized. Okay, so factoring. 2 times 2 is 4. Two numbers that multiply to 4 and add to 5 are 4 and 1. 2x squared plus 4x plus 1x plus 2. Cut it in half. I can take out a 2x. And you can see that asymptote pop up in your factoring there. We're going to have another asymptote, but it doesn't say that it only has one vertical asymptote. One of our vertical asymptotes is at x equals -2 for this function, and so this satisfies the description for number 6. So for both of those problems, you can really get by, you can get the right answer just by working with one piece of that question, kind of strategically. Number 7, which is true. So if you look at all of this, it's stacked really nicely. I'm looking here. I'm seeing vertical asymptotes and horizontal asymptotes, or slant. This is top heavy, so I know that I'm going to have a slant asymptote. Now I'm going to get rid of some options. Horizontal, not a horizontal. I'm going to have a slant. Both of my vertical asymptotes both of my options for C and D do say x equals -15. So I need to do my synthetic division in order to figure out which slant asymptote is correct. So I'm dividing the top of my fraction by my vertical asymptote. My vertical asymptote is -15. And I'm going to use synthetic division. You're welcome to use long division. It just takes longer. Drop down your 1. -15 times 1 is -15. Remember, multiply on your little swoop there and then add vertically. 7 plus -15 is -8. We do not care about our remainder. So my slant asymptote is y equals x minus 8. And D is my answer. So, a couple videos on rational functions to help you out. If you have further questions, you absolutely touch base with me in class.